Welcome to We Need to Talk about tech, where we talk about the past,
present, and future
of technology.
Hello, everyone in podcast land.
On this week's episode of the podcast, we talk about the Nothing announcement, where they show off their Another One phone. We talk about the new Sony PlayStation Plus memberships to compete with Xbox's GamePass.
And we talk about the biggest crypto hack of all time. The game Axie Infinity gets hacked for $625 million.
All right, so our first topic of the podcast is once again about the Nothing Company, Carl Pei's new tech company that's supposed to bring stylish new takes on, the fundamental tech that we use every day. Their first product was the Nothing Ear Ones, and those were some wireless earbuds that had a transparent design, co-designed by Teenage Engineering. And, they were released. It was their first product, and people were pleasantly surprised by them. Now, recently, they announced that they were going to be making a phone called the Nothing Phone One. And although they didn't show the phone, they did show off some of their ideas of what they wanted the software to look like, and, some of their design cues that they want to take, including, potentially bringing the transparency from the buds or the Nothing earbuds to a phone design. That's still haven't seen it, but that was the hope. Well, they did announce that they were going to have some kind of announcement on April 1st. And obviously, the assumption is that this is potentially an April Fool's joke. And I mean, I guess that assumption would be correct, but this is still kind of interesting because it does give off a small amount of information about what the future of the Nothing phone might be like. So today on April 1st, they did show off the Another One phone.
The Nothing Another One in parentheses.
Yeah. Which is their take on making fun of the smartphone market. Essentially, they're saying that, hey, we're just releasing our new phone. It's called Another One, which is a play on the name of the phone, which is going to be called the Phone One. And it's going to be completely familiar to you. It's going to be like every other phone that's on the market, and you can buy it right now. And when you click the link to buy now, they say, well, obviously this doesn't exist. Seriously, we don't want to make just another phone that's like every other phone on the market. We want to make something that's unique and exciting and, can kind of bring some interest back into the cell phone market, which they feel has maybe gotten a little stale. So this is kind of interesting. People are waiting to see what this actual phone looks like. There was rumors that maybe we would have seen it already, but that didn't, happen. So people are really hungry of actually seeing this phone. And I guess Nothing wanted to play that up by, working that into their April Fool's joke. But I'm curious, how did you feel about this joke from Nothing? Did it annoy you at all? Did it kind of reassure you that the phone is going to be something really unique? Or do you think maybe the Nothing marketing has kind of jumped the shark a bit?
I definitely had a bit of a chuckle when I saw the post that they made about it, and I saw the name of it, Another One. Like you said, kind of a play on how they name things. Mm-hmm. I laughed a little bit, and they had an Instagram post about it. And in the post, it's, this is a phone that's exactly like everything else with breakthrough jargon, trademark technology for improvements that you won't feel, a stunning stale design. It's very good marketing, I guess. It's very good. They're very good at creating a buzz about themselves, which, having Carl Pei as one of your founders, or I guess as your founder now, yeah, it definitely shows what he was able to do with OnePlus. It wasn't just like a one-time trick, and now he doesn't have anything else. He doesn't have any new ideas. It shows that he is definitely a marketing guru, I would say, or he's very good at creating buzz around his products. I mean, there was quite a bit of buzz around the ear ones and now the phone ones. I mean, we've been talking about them like 3 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
Right there. Definitely staying in the public eye. So I'm still intrigued. That I've been waiting to see the phone for who knows how long now. But like you said, they may have jumped the shark. Like, they're making all these bold claims about, oh, we're going to build an ecosystem that rivals Apple's, and we're going to work with everybody. And this is going to be, you know, a phone like nothing you've ever seen before. And they're poking fun at, you know, the jargon trademark technology. I'm assuming it's some sort of like Gorilla Glass Victus, you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, where they say, oh yeah, this is the best glass on a phone, but like, I mean, who can really tell the difference between what version of Gorilla Glass is on a phone? I mean, maybe jerry rig everything can, but other than that, it's like, you know, a stunning, stale design you've seen a million times before. How different are they going to make this phone look? Like, yeah, I get, okay, transparency on the back. It's going to be a big deal. But aside from that, I'm sure it's going to be a candy bar phone, right? And then I'm sure if you put a skin on the back of it, let's say, it would look just like every other phone. So I get that they're saying, hey, look, you know, the cell phone market is stale, which, you know, you could argue both sides of that, but I don't really think there's that much room to revolutionize the cell phone market unless they bring back headphone jacks and they bring back SD card readers, and, you know, maybe they'll do that. I'd love it if they did that. I think everyone would love that. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's great marketing. I don't know if it's really going to pay off in the end. I don't know if they're going to be that revolutionary, but I guess we'll wait and see till whenever they actually announce their phone or actually show off their phone. Or maybe it'll be like, you know, the Tesla Roadster, and we'll be waiting 5 years and still not know what the phone is supposed to look like.
Yeah, I honestly think you're 100% right. Like, first of all, this was a missed opportunity to, you know, have DJ Khaled involved in this announcement. But, you know, this topic beat out another topic that we were mentioning or talking about before the podcast, which was the Xiaomi Mi 11 Pro. And the reason why I think this one is a little bit more interesting is because it's a direct contrast to that phone. I really like the Xiaomi Mi 11 Pro. It's a phone that's now releasing globally. And it's a very cool phone because of the fact that it does all those things that you mentioned. It has a headphone jack. It has expandable storage. It's a utility device. And I think this announcement from nothing, making fun of the kind of sameness of all the phones in the market, to me, misses the mark a little bit. Because we're at the point now where phones are commodities. They're tools more than they are like really fancy, you know, exciting tech. Almost everyone has a smartphone in some way, and almost everyone who does have a smartphone uses it as a part of their daily life. It's not a fashion product. It's not, you know, I mean, sometimes with Apple phones they can be, but at the end of the day, it's still there to be used, and it's there to be used in the most critical of situations. If you need to navigate somewhere, if you need to make phone calls, send messages, communicate, it's about the actual function of the device. And I think that's kind of the key of why cell phones are so great right now, is because they handle those functions well. And to me, this goes back to a conversation that we were having earlier, where I kind of mentioned nothing seems like they want to take the supreme approach, where it's not so much about the usability or the function of the device that they're talking about, but more about the brand and the design. And I think as much as that could be really, really cool, we've seen Porsche design phones in the past that are really, really cool and super expensive and kind of unique, but no one buys them because they're not doing anything better than any other phone out there. And I have a feeling that this phone is going to be the same way. You mentioned it's very difficult in the past. You mentioned it's very difficult that it's to have a brand new company release a brand new phone that has a great camera. Usually that's something that's built up over time. That's one of the most prominent features of a phone. And, you know, nothing right now is putting a lot of eyes on them to execute this at the highest level. What are the chances this phone comes out with a great camera? Pretty slim, especially when compared to something like an iPhone or a Pixel or even a Samsung. So yeah, I think you're 100% right. This could be a situation where, yeah, it's great marketing, but if it doesn't lead to a fantastic phone that's a great tool, I don't necessarily know how important it is if it's transparent or, you know, has a red Supreme logo on it or, you know, any of that stuff. The same thing with teenage engineering stuff. It has to be good. And I think they're kind of missing the mark at proving that they can make a good phone as opposed to just a cool sounding phone or a cool looking phone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope they do something revolutionary that no one's ever seen before, but it's going to be very hard to do. You know, speaking of the Mi 11 Pro, you know, you said it's a utility phone. It's not a super expensive phone. One interesting thing about that phone is what? I think does it have a headphone jack?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
I think it has a headphone jack. It has a micro SD card slot, and it's still a waterproof phone. It has a 4600 milliamp hour battery. It's, you know, it has all of these, I don't know, like, I guess Android enthusiast things, but it comes in at a budget price.
Yeah.
Which, and let's, you know, throw in some other stats. It has 120 hertz refresh rate. It has a 1440p screen. It has, you know, it has a lot of bells and whistles on it. And what's a surprising trend, I guess, in the phone industry, and I guess really it's just in the Android phone industry, is you get more features, it seems like, for budget phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So you usually budget phones will have a headphone jack. They'll have an SD card reader, and they'll still have, you know, really good screens. The only thing I could say that they might be missing out on is, okay, maybe, well, not, you know, probably the camera. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But then when you think about it, it's like, all right, I'm paying for a premium phone, but I'm paying to get less hardware, or you're really just paying for the camera. I guess that's how important cameras are to people, right? That they don't care about headphone jacks. They don't care about expandable storage. They don't care that it has, you know, maybe a budget phone will have the same screen as their premium phone. What they're really paying for is that camera, I guess. Right? Did you know Apple was the first one to do it, and then everyone made fun of them, you know, after getting rid of their headphone jack? But then now everyone's followed suit and they're doing the exact same thing as Apple. So it's just an interesting trend that we're paying more money for devices that have less bells and whistles, where usually it would be the other way around.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also, you know, to throw Samsung in there as well, look at when they announced their Phantom Black phones and they spent 20 minutes talking about the color of the phone. Really, does that matter? No. But to me, that seems like what nothing is doing here. I think, look how long they talked about almost nothing in their last conference, right? They didn't show anything. They just talked about how much, like you mentioned, people like their earbuds, which is ridiculous. So yeah, are they going to spend 20 minutes talking about how they made a phone transparent? And then also launch a phone that has not a great camera? Like, who wants that? But I don't know. Maybe it could, like you said, it is great marketing though. That's the key. It's getting people interested. We're talking about it. It beat out, this April Fool's joke beat out the conversation around the Mi 11 Pro, because the Mi 11 Pro is, like they're saying, just another phone, whereas the Nothing phone might not be. So yeah, who knows? Maybe it'll work.
Maybe, hopefully.
All right. And our second topic for this podcast, also this week, we got an announcement from Sony, and it is essentially an update to their PlayStation Plus membership. If anyone's not aware, their PlayStation Plus membership is currently a system where you can pay for the ability to play online on a PlayStation 4 or 5. And with that, you get a bonus of some extra games every month, usually 2 to 3 games you get with your membership every month that you get to play for free, or it's included with your membership. Going forward, this is going to change. So they announced that in June, they're actually going to expand the PlayStation Plus membership into 3 tiers. Right now, there's just the 1 tier called PlayStation Plus. They're going to expand that into 3 tiers, where the base tier is called PlayStation Plus Essential, which is exactly how it works right now. It is about $10 a month, US dollars. So about $10 a month, you get cloud storage, you get some discounts on certain games, you get obviously the online play, as I mentioned, and 2 monthly downloadable games, pretty much identical to the way that it's set up right now. But on top of that, there's going to be a couple of extra options. The one right above that is going to be called PlayStation Plus Extra. That goes up $5 a month to $14.99. And along with all those benefits that I mentioned in the original PlayStation Plus tier, this one is also going to add up to 400 games from the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 library that you can play included in the membership. So these are games that you can download to your system and play. It's going to be of no extra charge. It's going to be included in this PlayStation Plus Extra membership. And then there's a final tier. So the final tier is $17.99 USD a month. And it has the same thing. So the extra 400 games of PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 games that you can download. But it adds up to an additional 340 games that are older games. So PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, and PSP. Now these games
and
aren't...
PlayStation 1.
And PlayStation 1, yes. These games aren't downloaded. So unfortunately with the PlayStation 5, it's still not going to be local backwards compatibility. It's going to be streamed. So they're going to stream these games to you, and like I mentioned, this is a part of the $17.99 membership. So essentially for just about $18 a month, you're going to get access to about 400 games from the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, an additional 340 games from all of their older generations, including PSP, and you'll get your online play and all that. And, this is kind of similar to the way that Game Pass works. Game Pass does the same thing. You can have access to a lot of current games that you get with your Game Pass membership. The prices are very similar, although for the PlayStation Plus Premium tier, it's kind of a little bit more than Game Pass, especially if you're comparing the normal Game Pass. There's two different versions of Game Pass right now. There's Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate. The regular Game Pass is if you're just using it on your console, and the Game Pass Ultimate includes the ability to use it on your Xbox or your PC. Now, the interesting thing about this PlayStation Plus Premium tier is these streaming games that you get to play from older generations already exists in a form called PlayStation Now. So PlayStation Now is a current subscription service for $10 a month USD that Sony will allow you to stream games, usually somewhere around the 400 game mark, that includes, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation 2 games. And it works on a PC. You can use it on a PC. You can use it on your PlayStation, either on your PlayStation 5 or your PlayStation 4. What is still unknown, or at least I don't know, I don't know if they've announced this, but whether or not this PlayStation Plus Premium tier, because these are going to take over the PlayStation Now kind of subscription, if the Premium tier will also allow you to play some of these games on the PC. And it seems like that would be the case. I think they already have that ability with PlayStation Now. I hope they can kind of continue that forward. But those are some things that still remain to be seen. And then the big difference between these PlayStation Plus tiers and Game Pass is that Game Pass gives first-party games, so games that are made by Microsoft, day and date on Game Pass. So you don't necessarily have to go out and pay an extra $60 to $90 on the brand new Halo or the brand new Starfield or whatever game they release. It's going to be included in that membership for no extra cost. Sony has come out and PlayStation has come out and said they're not doing that. Brand new games are going to be completely separate from this membership. You're still going to have to go out and buy The Last of Us 3 or Uncharted 5 or whatever else they decide to make. That's going to be completely separate from this membership, and they don't plan on ever putting brand new games from PlayStation in this membership. So, there's definitely some big differences between the two. I think this is more of a situation where Sony, they're already doing great. They're selling millions of copies of their games. I don't think they want to ruin that in any way, but this does give them the option to offer third-party games the way Xbox does. So just recently, one of the newest games that were added to Xbox Game Pass was a game called Tunic. It's a brand new Zelda-like game that's apparently really, really good, that is indie made. So it's an indie developed game, and Microsoft has offered it day and date the moment it came out on Game Pass. Now, I think this gives Sony the opportunity to do the same thing. If a brand new game comes out from a third party and maybe it comes out day and date on Xbox Game Pass, I think this allows Sony to be able to have a platform where they can offer that same game on their service, so it doesn't seem like Xbox is this completely better deal than they already are. So I think that's why they're doing that, maybe to get a little bit extra money from subscription services. That's the big thing nowadays. Apple is doing it right now too with all their subscription services. Everyone wants to make one. So, this is interesting. I definitely don't think this is a Game Pass competitor. I think this is probably just another way for Sony to get some extra revenue. But I'm curious, as someone who has a PlayStation 5, have you heard much about these new tiers that are going to be launching in a couple of months? And do they interest you at all?
I have heard about it, and it does slightly interest me. But it's a good point you brought up there. It's not an Xbox Game Pass competitor. It's kind of strange that it's taken Sony so long to have some sort of response to Xbox Game Pass, because it's been so successful and people have been raving about it since it's launched, right? Like, oh, this is amazing how many games we can play, how much, how easy we have access to this vast library of games. Like, Sony has just as big of a path library as Xbox does, and why have they not, I guess, done something to get it out there more? Mm-hmm. And kind of, Sony's vision of this, or their statement on this, is, as you said, they're not necessarily trying to compete with Game Pass or trying to make a bit of money on this. What they're trying to do is convert some of the PlayStation Plus users, like myself, to the higher tiers. So people who are paying the $9.99 a month, maybe get them to $14.99, hopefully get them to $17.99. As well as for some of the people who had PS Plus and who had PS Now, who are paying for both of those subscriptions, to sort of, give them a bit more value for their money. So they're not spending the price of 2 subscriptions. Now they're just spending 1 subscription, and they're still getting access to games. I think eventually, if they really want this to be successful, they will have to offer like day one access. I think if they really want this thing to be successful, they're going to have to. And maybe they start off, like you said, hey, Xbox is launching, the next Call of Duty game day and date on Game Pass. Oh, PlayStation, we're going to launch the next Call of Duty game day and date on our PS Plus Premium, let's say. Maybe that's how they kind of dip their toe into it. But I think this is going to be successful for sure. I definitely think it's going to be, successful at, offering value for people who already have, PS Plus and PS Now. But I think it's going to be successful in terms of getting, a little bit of extra money a month from those people who are on just PS Plus. Like, I could easily see myself paying an extra $5 to have access to 400 games.
Yeah,
I could definitely see myself making that trade. Now, I'm not going to, because I don't play that many games right now, at least not on PlayStation. But I could definitely see that being an easy decision for people to make. Not to mention, maybe you're a kid, living at home, use your parents' credit card for your subscriptions. Hey, yeah, mom, dad, I just, just the extra $5 a month. I'll do some more chores around the house. Maybe, just take $1 off my allowance a week, and that'll pay for it. I could definitely see them making that trade, someone who plays that, who has time for that many games, let's say.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be successful. And then I think once they see how successful it is in this version, and then they start launching games day and date, maybe like Call of Duty, like NBA 2K, like FIFA, where, hey, Xbox is offering it the day it comes out. We've got to compete and offer it the day it comes out. And I think they're going to see how successful it's going to be. And then they're going to, as a way to, promote this thing even more, hey, Horizon 3, day and date on PS Premium. I could see people flood into the service then.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it's, hey, $17.99, essentially $17.99 to get Horizon 3 whenever it comes out. For what? You pay 1 month. Maybe you play, you beat it. You could either cancel your service or you could find something else to play. either way, it's still cheaper than the like $90 that they charge for it. So I think this is going to be successful, and I think it's going to grow into something bigger for PlayStation. Do I see it taking down Xbox Game Pass? Definitely not. But it's a very welcome addition to what Sony offers, I would say.
Yeah, I do agree. I think it would be difficult to take down Game Pass. And I think if it does take down Game Pass, that would be Game Pass's fault or Microsoft's fault. Because right now, Xbox and Xbox Game Pass is very consumer friendly. And it's been known as the best deal in video games for years. I don't think this is going to be that. Like you're saying, Sony and PlayStation have been making a ton of money doing things traditionally. And I kind of see this, like you mentioned, Sony has a huge history of amazing games. And to me, this is a little bit more like what Nintendo did with their new online service where, you can now play N64 games and stuff like that. It seems more like that of, okay, hey, we can monetize these old games that people love that, Xbox doesn't really have because they haven't been around as long as PlayStation and Nintendo have. So yeah, I think this is definitely a way to take advantage of that. Also, recently we talked about on this podcast, Sony purchased Bungie, the creators of Halo and the current studio behind Destiny, because they want to get into more games as a service and they want to use Bungie's expertise to help them execute that well. I think this is also a sign that Sony and PlayStation want more subscription services and more opportunities to make money after the game is sold. So this gives them another opportunity to make more money monthly based off PlayStation Plus. And these new games that they're going to bring out, which they talked about, they want like dozens of these games as a service games to come out. Clearly, they want more revenue from their games beyond just the $60 purchase. And I think this is just another step in that direction, which could be kind of a negative for consumers if they don't market it, a good way. Which is why I think this is kind of an argument between Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. I think this is an argument for Xbox to lose because they've had such consumer-first messaging. I think this is going to be the opposite. And I think Sony's future is going to be the opposite of it's going to be more about, well, how can we min-max the amount of dollars we're getting from our customers? And, there's 3 tiers. It's kind of complicated, and it's not nearly as simple as Game Pass is. Game Pass, you pay a flat fee, you get it on your Xbox. If you want to pay a little bit more, you get it on your PC. Very simple. This is, well, if you want to play PS2, you got to pay more. If you only want to play PS4 and PS5, and also they haven't said any word about what games are going to be available. They just gave out numbers, 400 and 340. We have no idea what games are going to be included in this. And then also, this is the final thing I'll say about it, which is kind of confusing. Just less than 2 years ago, they released their PlayStation Plus Essentials, which allowed you to play games like their brand new God of War game, or I shouldn't say brand new, but their newer God of War game that came out in 2019 that's critically acclaimed, and it was included in your regular PlayStation Plus subscription. Do all those games now disappear? Do you now have to get the higher tiers in order to play those? So yeah, there's a lot of questions here. The messaging isn't as straightforward and as good as Xbox Game Pass, but I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Sony has done very well in selling millions and millions of their games at retail. And also, Xbox took a long time to develop. Game Pass took a long time to develop. It wasn't very good in the beginning, and it was hard to prove to people that it was worth investing in. Now it's a proven thing. It had a lot of growing pains. I think this is going to have some growing pains as well. But eventually, I think Sony will get their messaging out there. And, they'll find a way to reach their audience, hopefully better than what PS Now has. Because, I was hearing just the other day, it doesn't sound like many people even know PS Now existed. So now there's like more marketing push behind the idea that, hey, you can stream older games for a subscription fee. And, if you really want to play, I don't know, God of War, the original God of War on the PlayStation 2, hey, it's a part of this membership. You can do it.
Just on the topic of, people not knowing about PS Now. Sony's combined subscriptions between PS Plus and PS Now are about 50 million. 48 million of those subscriptions are to PS Plus.
Mm.
So there are a considerable amount more of people with PS Plus. Not very many people have PS Now. So I think, in terms of rewarding their very few loyal people that have PS Now, I think those, 2 million people are going to be very excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see how successful it is. Okay, so let's say right now, if I said you could only have PS Plus Premium or Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which one are you choosing?
Game Pass all the way.
No.
How about you?
I probably would too. Game Pass all the way.
Yeah.
Sorry, PlayStation. On to our final topic of the day, the biggest crypto hack of all time, which took place on Wednesday, March 23rd, actually, last week. The RONIN network, which is where the game Axie Infinity is hosted, they were hacked for 173,000 ETH and 25.5 million USDC, with a grand total worth more than 625 million at the time of the hack. Now, Axie Infinity, we've talked about multiple times on this podcast. It's a play-to-earn game. It's a very successful game that's built on blockchain. They did $3.5 billion in NFT transactions last year. Now, the exploit, the hack, affected Ronin validator nodes for Sky Mavis. That's the company that publishes Axie Infinity. Now, the attacker used hacked private keys in order to forge fake withdrawals from the Ronin bridge across 2 transactions. While the Ronin sidechain has 9 validators requiring 5 signatures for withdrawals, and it's meant to protect against, these types of hacks happening, apparently the attacker found a backdoor through Axie's gas-free RPC node, which was then abused to get the signature for the Axie DAO validator. So the loss, as I said, was 173,600 ETH, 25.5 million USD, a lot of money. Now, if you're kind of confused as to what we're talking about here, a blockchain bridge, it is also known as a cross-chain bridge. It connects 2 different blockchains together and allows people to send cryptocurrency from one blockchain to the other. So Ethereum itself wasn't hacked, but the chain bridge that they used to send money from Ethereum to another blockchain, that was hacked. Now, interestingly enough, bridges, these blockchain bridges are often full of problems. The code of them isn't audited, which allows hackers to exploit vulnerabilities like this. It's often unclear who even runs these bridges, yet there's still hundreds of millions of dollars that get transferred through these bridges, all the time. I think just last year, there was $1 billion in bridge hacks, just last year. Sort of the easiest way to look at this is the bridge is like the bank. A blockchain bridge is like a bank. And for the Ronin network, someone took out all of the money from the bridge. So all of the USDC, all of the ETH on the Ronin network essentially wasn't backed by anything. Now, back in August of 2021, a hacker stole $600 million in an exploit that took place over a cross-chain bridge. Now, that for that hack in particular, the vast majority of the funds were returned, but these bridge hacks definitely aren't an uncommon thing. And it's just very unfortunate that it's hit such, a big game like Axie Infinity. And, it's been so popular because it's kind of in terms of Web3, in terms of, blockchain and cryptocurrency, it's kind of the ideal that people get excited about when they talk about Web3. Where they say, Web 2, it's all, stale and stagnant. It's all these conglomerates that run it. Web3 is kind of seen as, hey, it's a possibility for anyone to be successful. It's a possibility for, decentralized finance, for decentralized governance, for people to have more say in the things that, they do online and, the actual ways that they make money. And as I said, it's a play to earn game. You could essentially play Axie Infinity and make a living off of it. There's a lot of people in countries like the Philippines that make a living wage through playing this game Axie Infinity. So to see, I guess, such a historical hack happen to that game, it's definitely troublesome for someone who has money invested in it, for someone who was making a living off of the game. But also if you're someone who's optimistic about, the future of Web3 and the future of cryptocurrencies and just, the future of blockchain in general. So my question to you is, are you surprised that a hack of this magnitude happened? Are you surprised that bridges seem to be so vulnerable, yet so much money flows through them? Or did you kind of think that, hey, something like this was bound to happen eventually?
Not surprised at all. I mean, I think a long time ago, we talked on the podcast about the pipeline hack. And I mentioned that even in traditional, companies and banks and pipelines, whatever, traditional tech, network security isn't taken as seriously as it probably should be. And the biggest difference there is a lot of times, like you mentioned, these bridges, these companies aren't undergoing regular audits. Whereas a traditional company, especially a bank, you have to go through regular audits. You have to check for regular vulnerabilities. And in a situation when you're dealing with the blockchain, you're dealing with crypto, you're dealing with a game that is giving, your player base the opportunity to make money. At the end of the day, I don't know if there's really an incentive to take care of the money or the crypto or whatever data is going through these networks the same way as it would a traditional bank, because there's just not the regulation there. There's not the oversight there that there would be for a traditional bank. And this got me kind of into a rabbit hole a little bit, researching the topic. I won't get too much into it, but I kind of wanted to see what the requirements were for things like this. And I did come across an article where Crypto.com, if anyone's aware, that's now the new faceplate of the Staples Arena. In 2019, they boasted that they were the first ever blockchain-based, crypto-based company to have PCI DSS level 1 audit, which, if anyone doesn't know what that is, PCI is like a payment card industry standard for auditing a network. So essentially, any network that is handling payments, specifically in North America, they are audited regularly to see if there's holes in their network that could potentially leak their customers' data. I have been a part of this myself. I've been in an organization where while this audit is going on, it's very intrusive. It's very invasive. Pretty much everything that goes on in that company is not only transparent to who's ever doing the audit, but also they will try to bring down your network. Not necessarily, cost you money in downtime, but they will show you, hey, if this happens, your network will go down and you need to fix it right now. That is, kind of something that doesn't seem to happen much in the crypto space, because anytime a company has any kind of PCI or audit standard in their organization, it seems more like that's the news as opposed to that's the norm, which I find kind of strange, especially when you're dealing with amounts of, hundreds of millions of dollars. And in this case, over $500 million being stolen worth of crypto. That's not a small amount. That's not something trivial to not take security seriously. So yeah, I'm definitely not surprised. I definitely think there's an issue, in tech as a whole of not taking network security serious. And I think there's just less of an incentive to take it serious in the crypto market. But then it also begs the question, like you mentioned, the big excitement around crypto and blockchain technologies is the decentralized nature of it. And it makes me wonder, do people who participate in these games like Axie Infinity or Decentraland or, any of these other grassroots crypto kind of platforms, do they want that level of auditing on their platforms? Or do they want it to be a little bit more, decentralized and less oversight on them, because maybe that's kind of the benefit of being part of a crypto, or being a part of the blockchain, the idea that you're not fully attached to government standards or organizational standards that a traditional bank would be. So I don't know, maybe that's a benefit. The one real question though is, how does this affect the players of Axie? Right now, the Ronin network is still down. If you try to go to their website, it says they're under maintenance. They have claimed that they're hoping these people get brought to justice, and like you mentioned in the previous hack, hopefully a lot of these funds get returned. But the reality is that might not happen. And if it doesn't, how does that affect the millions and millions of players who rely on this game? And does that, I honestly don't think that this will discourage anybody from Decentraland or any kind of Axie game in the future. But it does make someone like me, who was already skeptical, wonder, are these guys really taking this stuff seriously? So I don't know. I'm curious. How do you feel about it? Do you think that if you were, because you brought up Axie to me actually in the first place when we first talked about it, and does this kind of worry you about the future of these crypto-based and blockchain-based, games? Or do you think like, hey, it's just going to continue going, people are going to continue to make money, and it doesn't really matter what this hack happened? If this hack happened, it's not going to really discourage people.
I'm a little bit worried. I'll admit I'm a little bit worried about it. I mean, especially because, when I first brought up Axie to you, when we first started talking about it, it was at its, but it was definitely in its beginning stages. Mm-hmm. And I think the last time we talked about it, it was like, wow, can you believe this game that we were talking about? Like, hey, it'd be great if they reached, 40,000 people. They're up to the millions, right? So it's kind of cool to see, hey, it wasn't that big, then it's blown up, and now there's this huge hack that happens. So yeah, because we followed the story for as long as we have so far, I am a little bit worried for the future of the game, but I think in the long run, I think it's going to be okay. It's the structure of the game, the actual gameplay itself, the culture, and the fan base behind it. I think all of that is going to lead to its success. I mean, if they really wanted to, they could just release this as a regular game and not as a crypto-based, blockchain-based game. And I think it would still be successful because they have the community behind them. But I think even staying as a game built on Ethereum, built on blockchain, I think it will continue to be successful. Maybe this is, not a little hiccup, but, this is a little bit of a speed bump on the way to how much they're growing. But I think they're going to continue to do well. As far as the Axie hack goes, so all of this Ethereum was stolen. And just the way the Ethereum network works and just the way blockchain networks work is you can see where this money was transferred to. Mm-hmm. You can see this person's Ethereum address, and you can actually send them Ethereum messages too. Now, from the people monitoring, the majority of the funds are still in the attacker's Ethereum account. Although 6,250 Ethereum has been transferred to various accounts and various addresses. Now, some of these exchanges include Crypto.com, like you mentioned. And what's interesting is that Crypto.com is one sort of exchange that uses a Know Your Customer, a KYC verification system. So in order to set up an account on Crypto.com, you have to verify who you are by providing government identification, by providing, facial scans through your cell phone, by providing passports, so you can't just, okay, I want to commit a crime. I'm going to open up a crypto.com account. I'm going to commit the crime and I'm going to get away with it scot-free. Because, as you said, that was kind of the original promise, the original idea of blockchains and cryptocurrencies is there's so much, promise around the anonymity behind blockchains and cryptocurrencies. But a lot of the companies that allow you to buy said cryptocurrencies, they have some sort of oversight, whether it's, government oversight, or maybe it's oversight that they put on themselves, where they have this KYC verification system set up. Mm-hmm. So a lot of, security, quote unquote, security experts are saying that, hey, this was probably a bit of a misstep by the person who committed this hack to transfer money into these accounts, these verified accounts that have actual identifications, linked to them. Although some people are saying there's actually a black market for accounts that have been verified. So people will set up accounts and then sell them to people who want to commit some sort of crime and transfer money into those said accounts. But like I said, there's also the ability to message people. So someone has found where this money got transferred to, and they sent them a message saying, hello, blank name. Your initial deposit was from Binance. Be careful and be sure to use tornado.cash. You must leave the funds in for multiple days or it can be traced. They also wrote the attacker's address as part of an Ethereum transaction. Afterwards, you should use stealthx.io to swap other currencies over a long period of time. Thanks. Feel free to tip/retire me. So not only can everyone see where this money went in terms of, their Ethereum address, you can send them messages to say, hey, this is how you should launder your money, or, this is, we're going to come get you. I'm an Axie player, you're my mortal enemy. But it's an interesting spin on things, right? Because yes, there is the anonymity, but in a way there isn't. And, in past crypto hacks that have happened, companies that were hacked or had money stolen from them, they actually found the person's, Ethereum address or whatever currency was stolen, and they doxed the person. I think there was one hack that happened, and the company that got hacked actually sent miso soup to the person's home address to say, like, hey, listen up. We know where you live. Give us our money back. And when you look at these hacks that happen, right, these, $600 million, that's some country's GDP that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So I don't think Sky Mavis, the company behind Axie Infinity, is, just going to brush that off and, say, oh, bad things happen. Just can't worry about them. I think they are going to, turn over every stone. And I don't think they're going to rest until they get their money back or they find out who stole this money, right? Because they stole it not just from Sky Mavis, but from the people who play Axie Infinity, from the people who invested in Axie Infinity. So I definitely think they're not going to rest until they at least find out the identity of who did this. But they've also, the company Sky Mavis has said that, hey, we pledged to reimburse players who had their money stolen. Mm-hmm. So, it's good to hear that. We'll see if this actually happens, how long it takes for them to reimburse people, but hopefully they're able to get the money back and reimburse people right away. But I think I was surprised to see that it happened. I guess not really surprised. I was surprised that it happened. I'm looking forward to see how it plays out. Hopefully within a week, the money is back in the players' accounts and Sky Mavis's accounts, and hopefully not just Axie Infinity and the companies that run these bridges, but hopefully everyone involved in blockchain cryptocurrency stuff kind of learns a lesson that, hey, there's a lot of money on the line here that we're kind of just not paying due diligence with. Maybe we should try and shore up our products better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is, at the very least, a very big learning moment for the entire blockchain community, but definitely for Axie Infinity. I think, to add the long way around answering your question, I think Axie Infinity is going to be fine. I think they're going to continue to grow. That I hope this is just a speed bump in their very successful future.
Yeah. And I guess a lot of companies are going to be looking at this as well. Like, I'm pretty sure Decentraland is looking at themselves like, hey, make sure we don't have any of these holes in our network. And, you know, like, it's funny because, like I mentioned, Ronin is still kind of down for maintenance. I'm sure they're trying to shore up everything. But you mentioned a perfect thing there, right? Like, obviously, Axie and Ronin are going to try as hard as they can to get this money back. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who knows? This is a learning opportunity, but more importantly, I think this is an opportunity to make sure that these things don't happen. Preventative maintenance. And, you know, while I was going through this whole rabbit hole of what the standards are for a lot of these crypto companies and NFT companies and blockchain-based companies, what they're doing for their security, I came across a little bit of an article here from Deloitte. And Deloitte is a security firm that does a lot of these audits, like I mentioned, like the PCI DSS audit that a lot of financial institutions go through. And they had a little bit of an article here that I'll read just a small portion of, but it's about the cryptocurrency security standard, the CCSS, which is an audit that is, I guess, used to take a look at a lot of these crypto companies. And the interesting thing here is this is essentially a standard that was being developed, but it's not a very good standard. And I kind of want to read this here. So it says, whereas the PCI DSS standard applies to the entire transaction flow, for example, starting from the technology used to acquire the transaction through to how the information in the transaction is treated throughout all steps of processing, the CCSS standard does not provide the same coverage and only focuses on the source management of the crypto wallets. Additionally, security measures will be required to secure environments with the crypto security management components operate, within which the security management operates. So this is a key aspect here, because crypto is decentralized, and because, you know, this ledger that's associated with the blockchain, whether it's proof of stake or proof of work. You know, I don't know a ton about crypto, but the idea is a lot of different networks are contributing to this ledger and this blockchain to make the information accurate, right? Mm-hmm. And it's difficult to secure every single thing that's connecting to this network or communicating with this network. So this standard, that I don't know how old this standard is, but it's not very good because it can only focus on one point in this chain. And I think that's kind of the big issue of how do you do preventative maintenance for things like this happening in the future as blockchain starts to grow, as more, you know, of these networks become interlinked, as the ledger starts to grow from, you know, more organizations. And especially, you know, the big question is, as the blockchain starts to evolve, we know, you know, certain coins, including Ethereum, has had the conversation of, you know, proof of work versus proof of stake, which one is more energy efficient, less places have access to I guess contribute to the ledger. You know, these questions I think are going to be answered, and as more of these situations kind of happen, I think it's going to shape the future of where blockchain goes, in terms of maybe it does end up naturally becoming less open because people want to protect their $500 million in their investments and in their games. But what does that do for the people who really loved the decentralized nature of the blockchain and of crypto? And, you know, you mentioned crypto.com uses a lot of proof of identity for setting up accounts. If that becomes more the norm, which I imagine it already is, does that discourage people from being as excited about blockchain? Because does it just become another version of US dollars or, you know, whatever country currency that
fiat currency?
Exactly. Like, so it's kind of a weird question. It's like a weird middle ground of, yeah, this thing happened, this hack happened. Is the reaction to it to become more lockdown and more like a fiat currency, or does it lead to people saying, hey, this is just a risk of the technology, of the environment that we want to be a part of. We're not going to necessarily lock everything down just because of this. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this actually shapes out going forward.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. Any closing statements?
No, I'm just really interested to see this Nothing phone. And honestly, you asked me a question, I think it was the last podcast, of whether or not I'd get the Nothing phone if it was a reasonable price.
$399.
$399. After seeing this Mi 11 Pro, if I needed a phone, that would be the phone I'd get. It's got everything I need. It's got everything I need. It doesn't have a great processor, but who cares? Everything else is great.
What if the Nothing phone? Wait, how much is the Mi 11 Pro?
It starts at just under $370 US.
370.
Yeah.
So if the Nothing phone is $399, has a better processor, everything else is the same, has a headphone jack, has an SD card reader, and they throw in the Nothing Ear ones for free, would you still go with the Mi 11 Pro?
No, honestly, headphone jack and expandable storage, hey, that's you got me there. And especially if they do have a MagSafe kind of competitor, oh yeah. I think I'd pay the extra for the Nothing phone.
All
although
right,
I don't think they'll
$20.
Yeah. I don't think they'll do it. Although, hey, they could make up that money from selling an overpriced 2-card wallet like Apple does, and I'd probably buy that too.
They could. Take it easy, everyone, in podcast land.
Get you in the next episode.